Blog Talk Radio.
Contra Radio Network, Preparedness Radio, with your host, John Jeffers. And good evening. It's Sunday, Father's Day 2017. I'm John Jeffers here at the Contra Radio Network. Wishing all you fathers out there, I hope you've had a relaxed, fun Father's Day. As myself here at the Contra Radio Network, I apologize for the delay, had technical difficulties, and guess what? Had to redo the setup for the entire episode. It took me 17 minutes, which I'm getting better at because, sometimes this, all goes to hell quickly. All right. Tonight we want to talk about leadership, and if you want to opine, and look, you know what? I'm going to need your help on this episode because there's different definitions of leadership, different styles of leadership, and stuff we need to talk about. For example, what kind of leadership are you expecting? And you got to have good leadership before your prepper group or patriot group decide to go operational. Bad leadership means bad juju coming down on everybody. So we're going to talk some about leadership tonight. It's necessary. It needs to be done. Porky Will's in the chat room by himself. He's a lonely man. But he's a good guy. Nope, he left me. But anyways, you want to call in. I need you to opine. 516-453-9389. Again, our phone number here to reach us is 516-453-9389. We're also going live on Facebook. So we'll see. I see Brian's in the Facebook on the live feed. Hey, buddy. Glad to hear from you. Good to see you here. So, before we talk about that, this leadership thing, I posted a thing from urbansurvivalsite.com. And apparently it's really getting some hits. So let's go over it real quick before we get started with our leadership discussion. Plus it gives me time for you to get ready and listen in and also opine as well. So let's get with it. All right. These are the 5 worst American states to be in during a collapse. With that said, there are many different disasters that would be catastrophic to the United States. For example, an EMP attack that causes the power grid to collapse, a huge natural disaster, or a complete economic collapse, far worse than the Great Depression, or just 3 such disasters that would take years to recover from. What many people fail to realize, however, is that it won't be the disaster itself that kills the most people. While it is true that the EMP would strike, would cause planes to follow the sky, cars to crash on one another. While it's true that a natural disaster could claim thousands of lives instantly, it's what happens after an apocalyptic disaster that would cause the most deaths. So with communications, food, water, and other necessities all cut off instantly, once ordinary people will do desperate things in order to survive. We've talked about that here. Hunger, starvation, dehydration, lack of water, and people killing one another savagely for the basic necessities that are dwindling. What would claim the most lives. Now, nowhere in the United States is going to be truly safe or immune from a disaster on a grand scale. We know that. However, some states will certainly be less safe than others. So let's discuss what those states are and why they are more unsafe, that is dangerous, than others. So here are the top 5 worst American states to be in during a collapse, presented in alphabetical order for your clerical purposes. Alaska. Now here's a state you're probably surprised to see on the list, especially when you consider Alaska, known as the last frontier, is supposed to be a safe haven for a survivalist. There is no denying that Alaska has many factors that would initially make it seem a good place to be in during a disaster. For one thing, it's sparsely populated. Its few urban areas are not anywhere as populous as cities, say, like those cesspools of New York or Los Angeles. It also has an abundance of natural resources, such as timber and wild game. But at the same time, Alaska has many negatives. For one thing, it's very earthquake-prone due to the fact that it's situated along the west coast. It's also cut off from the lower 48 states, so imports of basic supplies and necessities will come to a screeching halt in the midst of a disaster with no hope of resupply. Gasoline and oil are arguably the biggest of these. While it is true that Alaska has oil, the refineries to make it into gasoline and other petroleum products just is lacking. Now, there's no denying that Alaska is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world, but at the same time, it has serious cons that should make you seriously reconsider it as a bug-out location. Number 2 is no surprise, California. You might as well put the whole West Coast under this one, which is incredibly vulnerable to earthquakes and is very densely populated. Those densely populated cities like San Francisco, San Diego, or Los Angeles are not just hellholes, they are just bad places to be in an earthquake. They are also prime EMP or nuke targets for our enemies. Furthermore, California's economy is incredibly fragile with a very high debt. It's arguably the most prone to an economic collapse over any other state, unless, of course, you live in Illinois, which is on the verge. This is on top of the very high cost of living, taxes, and regulations in the state as well. All in all, the West Coast is definitely not somewhere you want to be during a disaster, but California will be even more dangerous than Washington or Oregon. Number 3, Florida. Well, you can probably guess one reason why Florida is on the list. Hurricanes. Look, it's no secret that Florida is very prone to hurricanes, but it even hasn't stopped retirees from flocking to the Sunshine State as a warm tropical haven. Now, sure, Florida is a very attractive state, but it's still far too overburdened with negative factors to be considered a good state to be in a disaster. On the contrary, it's one of the worst. Miami is a very large city. It could be a prime target of a nuclear or EMP attack. The population of Florida is very dense. It's surpassed New York, and the crime rate is high. In addition, most of Florida is already under sea level, which is dangerous should ocean temperatures ever seriously rise. Overall, you'd be advised not to consider Florida as a bug-out retreat. Number 4, Hawaii. Hawaii is on the list for many reasons that Alaska is. It's cut off from the rest of the United States and therefore will also be cut off from shipping and imports during a disaster. AKA, fact, people. When I was there, I was talking with some of the locals and some others. And the fact is, Hawaii, specifically Oahu, only has really 3 to 4 days of supplies. There are supply ships, which you can see from Waikiki Beach, coming into the port there at Honolulu. Every day, cargo ships just rolling in on a regular basis. They unload in Oahu, divvy up whatever supplies are there, and they send them off to the other Hawaiian islands. Okay. Hawaii already has less overall resources than Alaska, with less of a chance to be successful at agriculture due to the generally poor soil. Hawaii is also a gold mine of military bases that will be prime targets in the event of global war. CINCPAC fleet is headquartered at where? Well, Pearl Harbor. Unless you can get out beforehand on a ship or an airplane, you're essentially stranded, or as Chris Walken would say, stranded in an archipelago out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with no serious way of getting out. If Hawaii serves one purpose, then it's a vacation place to make happy memories, and that is true. But it's certainly not a place to go to outlet a disaster. Number 5, yeah, big surprise here, New York. Last but not least, we come to New York. The east and west coast are both highly and densely populated, and the city of New York itself is going to be a prime target for our enemies. New York also shares many cons with California: the high cost of living, high taxes and regulations, high crime rates, strict firearms laws, heavy traffic, and so on and so on. It never ends, does it? Granted, not all of New York is so bad. Much of the northern part of the state is very rural and teeming with natural resources. Still, you're in very close proximity to the city, and refugees will undoubtedly be flooding north towards Canada and into the countryside because people who live in the city have this twisted idea that somehow people in the country will be more than willing to share what they have with them because, well, they're special. And who would not want to share their resources with all these fine, fine people marching towards them? Either way, you're still not safe anyway. So the conclusion is this: Alaska, California, Florida, Hawaii, and New York will be the 5 least safe states to be in during a major nationwide disaster. As an alternative, You would be wise to check out the states and the Great Plains of the Rocky Mountains. I would also add Dixie, some states in the southern United States. While those areas certainly have their cons as well, remember that no state is truly safe. They'll still be much safer than the 5 states we've just gone over. And that takes care of that. All right. Joe Poe, Texas for the win. Yes, sir. And, of course, Rob A., he would stay in the great state of Indiana, which is good. By the way, thank both of you for your donations to CRN. I appreciate it, gentlemen. I appreciate it greatly. I hope you did get everything you're supposed to get. They did send out an ebook, so it should be good. All right. What we got? What's going on in the chat room? Nope, just Porky Wheel. Lonely man that he is. We like Porky Wheel. He's a very dedicated listener and is also a financial supporter here at CRN, so he always gets a gold star when he checks in. All right, let's get to it. We're talking about leadership. Webster's defines leadership as the capacity to lead, the office or position of a leader, the act or an instance of leading. Are they right? Again, I'm going to need you guys to call in because we need to discuss this. This is important, especially for prepper groups and for patriot groups. Our number is 516-453-9389. Leadership. When you take on the mantle of a leader, you have taken on the responsibility for those that have chosen to join your group. That's a moral and ethical consideration. If you're not able to do so, you should not be the, what I call the supreme leader, so to speak. Does that make sense? Yeah. Being a leader means not only taking on the responsibility of other people's lives and welfare, but you get to take on everything else that that encompasses. Notice I said welfare, feeding, clothing, sheltering, making good, sound judgment decisions. Many people, everybody can make decisions. They can. The question is, are these good decisions? Also, if you become a leader of a prepper group or a patriot group, and you are doing it for the wrong reasons, and for the wrong reasons, I'm talking about self-aggrandizement, for your ego. I'm the leader of this prepper group. What have you done? What makes you think you're a good leader? What will you do? If you take on the position of leadership to somehow enrich yourself, and believe me, that has happened, and it's an anathema to all the prepper and patriot groups out there. If you've taken it on under some guise that somehow you are going to grab other people's supplies and kind of skim off the top, you're wrong. You are morally and ethically unfit to be a leader if you do that. If you do it for ego, and believe me, they're out there. You see them sometimes. Oh, I'm the commander of this. I'm the leader of that. Again, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You are unethically and immorally challenged and should be prohibited from ever being a leader in the prepper group or patriot because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You've chosen yourself over the welfare of those that have entrusted you to take care of them and everyone else. And with this goes hand in hand. If you support someone to be a leader in your prepper group, and as a follower, and I don't mean that in a bad way, if you're a member of this group, you also have an obligation to support the leader help them accomplish the mission. Are you legally obligated to do so? No, you are not. But you should, because you support this person. I use the term voluntary compliance for those that are members of a prepper group or are looking to join a prepper group. You have voluntarily said, yes, I will follow, I will listen to what I'm supposed to do and told, and I am responsible enough to do said and fulfill said obligation. It is an obligation you've chosen. Is it a legally binding one? No. Is it moral and ethical? Yes. Is it wrong for you to say, you know what, this prepper group is not for me? You give them notice and say, look, I'm pulling out. This is not the kind of leadership I was looking for, or this isn't what I thought. It's okay to do that. It really is. It's how you do it. Do I make sense? Give me a call, 516-453-9389. Let me know what you think about this. Am I wrong? I mean, really, have I gone off the deep end here? Or am I speaking truth to power? You know, being a leader isn't easy. But you knew that going in when you said, yeah, I'll be the leader of the group. Myself, with the 11th APG, firmly believe in it. And let's put this, when the group was first formed, no one wanted to be the leader. I said, fine, I'll do it, you know. And I got to tell you, I have failed in those duties. And I recognize that failure because I was doing the show here, and I could not donate the time, give it the time necessary that it deserved, the care that it deserved. That's why many of you heard me the last couple of weeks. I turned it over to Chuck. I turned it over to Chuck because he has the time, the will, and the desire to do it. Do I know that Chuck's going to be a good leader? I don't know. I don't have my magic 8-ball. Well, is Chuck going to be a good leader? Will he do good? I may rely upon it. Or as it say, ask again later. You know, that's my point. I would say this. If you're going to choose a leader, choose somebody who has actually had leadership positions. Now look, some of us have never been in the military. We had good leaders, we had bad leaders. Just like at work, at your job, you got good supervisors, you got bad supervisors. You got supervisors who know what the hell they're doing, they're competent, they're knowledgeable, and then you get those who have no clue what they're doing, much less you're wondering how in the hell they got to that level of responsibility. There's an old maxim. You will, those bad leaders will rise to their level of incompetence and will never go beyond, nor will they go below, back to where they were from. In prepper groups, that is, well, not true. If you got somebody who's a bad leader, you can sit there and, you know, call for the group, talk to the leader, say, look, you're not doing the job right. You're not doing a good job. You could talk to other leaders, depending on how your group is set up. And if you choose to make a change, you make the change and do it the right way. And then you replace him. Or, filling in that, if he has a cadre with him who supports him, a bunch of yes men, and I'm not saying that yes men are bad. You got to, well, let me back up here. On the 11th APG, when I set it up, I set up the leadership in terms of this. That I wanted to be able to have the other units or cells choose their own local leadership. They, in turn, would provide, especially if they were nearby. If you got a group like that, they would provide what I would like to call the war council. Leader goes in there and says, look, this is what I want to do. This is the plan. Bop, 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 bop. The War Council says, okay, I like point A, B, C, not D and E so much. Sit there, hash it out. Let the War Council hash it out. But the leader, in the end, has to make the final decision. Now, granted, it doesn't mean the leader is going to be all-knowing. He's not omnipotent. He's not omniscient. He can't be everywhere, doesn't know everything, can't be everywhere all the time. That's not his job anyways. That's God's job. So when you have a leadership set up, a leadership apparatus, you've got to let the people have a say. Granted, there's a limit to that because as a leader, there are times you have to say, you know what, yes, I hear you, but I can't do it. Wouldn't be prudent. As George Bush Sr. would say, it just wouldn't be prudent to do it. So you don't do it. The leader has to make the final decision. It's not going to be popular sometimes. Sometimes it will. Sometimes it may cost the leader that position. Okay? I mean, these are all things that we have to end up talking about. As Porky Wells says, he says, I know it's not the same situation, but I've seen enough leaders that have did it for the ego trip and did not have a clue. From experience, when the shit hits the fan, they were a danger to the unit. Absolutely they will be. And their weakness, their lack of strength, the lack of moral character will reveal itself when the pressure is on. When Murphy is in full gear, full-blown glory, he will reveal himself to be the leader who he is. If he's a poor leader, you'll know it almost right away. You know, there was a group I know that had a leader, and he was trying to run it along the lines of a military-type apparatus. I'm not saying he was a bad leader. What I'm saying is I think it was a combination of the way he led, what he was doing. He wasn't doing anything bad. He just wasn't addressing the needs of the group. As a result, he told me, I'm not going to change. This is the way it is. You don't like it, get out. It's my way or the highway. They chose the highway. They left. That group's no longer viable or functional. As a leader, you're going to have to listen. You're going to have to make some decisions. You're going to have to listen to your people. It's not always easy, and it's not always going to be the right decision. Sometimes the right decision isn't the most popular one. It's at those times a leader will show his integrity and say, look, I get it. You don't like it, but this is the only other plan we have. It's either this or that. And this is clearly not the right idea. Could be dangerous. It could be very detrimental. But I don't see any other path. If you have, no one's come up with a better idea, so please, say something. And so they end up making this decision. Again, there will be people who are followers. Those are your yes men. And by I don't mean bad. What I mean is these are the people that will, by a definition, when you make a decision, that's when the knives come out and they will play Julius Caesar with you and assassinate you if they can. May not physically kill you, but wound your ability to lead or command or make decisions. They have no integrity, and you probably don't want them in your group anyways. And they will show themselves very soon because they always have a better way. They always have a better idea, but they won't dare put their ass on the line and put it out there. Those are the people you need to get rid of. The people that leaders rely on have integrity. And part of their integrity says, yes, I joined this group with voluntary compliance. I chose to say, yes, I will join this group. I will do my part. I will support command. And then you got those, like I said, they won't say anything loud. They'll whisper to others. Plant that seed of doubt in others infect the rest of the group. Oh, I wouldn't have done that. Is he crazy? We can't do this. Oh, this just doesn't work for me. Or they'll say, we should do this, or maybe you should say something. Those are the people that will undermine your ability to lead effectively. Those people need to be excised like a cancer from the group. Must be. The good leaders are the ones who are going to listen to their people. They may not always follow what the people want, but they're going to listen to them. The good leaders are the ones that make decisions based on the shared values of the group. Now, there may be a time when there's come to loggerheads, bang, 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 between what command and what the group needs or wants. This is why you have command. Now, are command leaders going to fail sometimes in their decisions? Yes. No one's perfect. No one's got the magic 8-ball. Oh, I should do this. Doesn't happen that way. But what's important is that the group support them. When I worked for the sheriff's office, there were many people. I've sat there and just drawn blanks thinking to myself, what the hell are they doing there? How did they ever get to the rank? You know what? Again, those are the good leaders and those are the bad leaders. When you get bad leaders, the ones that are bad will choke every time. They will not and cannot make a good decision if their life depended on it. And in many cases, when the grid goes down, their life will depend on it and they will get themselves killed. And maybe those are the group. It's not easy to choose a right leader. But you know what? When you check yourself, you say to yourself, would this man or woman be a good leader? Check your gut. There'll be a gut check. And you will know whether or not, yeah, this is a good leader. No, this is not. You will know. Yes. Oh, one thing I would suggest you get a leader, someone who's a smooth talker. That guy's out. In my book, out. Because he has an answer for everything. He's got an answer for everything. He knows what's going to happen. He doesn't know a damn thing. He's in it for the wrong reasons. If you want to call in and opine, our number is 516-453-9389. So, here we are, talking about leadership. Speaking of leadership, tonight we're drinking Powerade Zero. No calories. 0 calories. That's what I'm drinking tonight. What are you drinking? What do you think are good leadership qualities and traits? Need to know. Tonight is your opportunity to call in and opine and express what you think. You think I'm going to talk about leadership for 2 hours straight by myself? That's not going to happen. I tell you the truth of these matters. It's all right, Porky Will. You hang in there, buddy. He's alone in the chat room. Another thing that we have to remember is with voluntary compliance. Look, if you have a member of a group and a leader, actually this works both ways. Let's say a member of a group that says, look, either do it my way on this or I'm leaving. I think as a leader, you need to tell that member, good luck, thank you for your time, and go your separate ways. God love you. if you have a leader that says, I know I'm going to do this, and he's so set on doing it, come hell or high water, there comes a time when he has lost his way. He's morally challenged. Think of any situation you want that's desperate, and his plan is even more desperate than the situation you're facing. This is not Hollywood, where we roll the dice and write the script, and then things turned out good and sunny, and they rode off into the sunset. No, 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 that's not life. That's not real. There comes a time also, the leader is accountable to those that he leads. I remember many young lieutenants and senior NCOs. Hey, there's Donovan. He's in. Welcome, buddy. And he says, leadership is important. It is important. It really is. Oh, and the idea, by the way, before you even say it, before you call in and say it, know this. Leading by consensus sounds great until there is none. Until you alienate half of your group. Leading by consensus doesn't work. It does at what I would call, I talked to you about the War Council, people who are kind of elected or chosen by the local groups to communicate with the main command that make up the command structure. That works. But eventually, at one point, one time, the leaders, the commander's going to have to make that decision. And if it's tied, if the vote is tied 5-5, you're going to have to make that decision. And there's no way out of it. You got to do it. You're going to have to pick and I guarantee you, there's some people that no matter what you do, you're not going to satisfy them. Those are the people you need to keep an eye on, because again, those are the people that will poison the others in the group. If you have somebody who's a cancer to the group, you must bid them a fond farewell and send them on their way. You need to do it now while the grid is up, not while down when you're trying to get operational, trying to get things going. At that point, it's too late. If you have somebody like that in your group, you need to get rid of them. Now, tomorrow, tonight, whatever it takes. There's just no way around it. Got a caller coming in. Go ahead, caller. Fire away.
It's kind of pathetic to have our president's ability to pass legislation minimized or basically stymied due to an onslaught of fake news, not meant to be truthful at all, because not a lot of it is bullshit, but it's meant to be a big public distraction away from Trump's abilities to pass legislation. That's all that it is. It's a big freaking news agency filibuster, if you will, filled with fake news, repeated over and over again, ad nauseum, ad infinitum, and only the weakest mind, low brain-celled, questionable neurosynaptic Americans are believing it. Other than that, it's a great day.
I was in the chat room. Porky Will put something very interesting, and he said this. The reason that I talk about Porky Will is in the chat room because he's in Northern Ireland. It's like 2 a.m., almost 3 a.m. his time. He says, any good leader I had was one that I could trust in my gut, but they were able to get us motivated and inspired to do the things we didn't want to do. And there it is. Sometimes being a leader means you have to be able to influence others. Well, let's be honest. Influence and manipulate others to feel good enough to do what you're asking them to do. That's a good leader. Here.
Well, sometimes the situation also helps as well. If they are in dire straits and the entire country is basically threatened by these threats, and they want the leader to take action and do something. Okay, 911 was a perfect example. So it's a tragedy. It's basically a a threat that pretty much threatens the entire country. Everyone's afraid of it, so they rally around, a rallying cry, if you will, to respond to it, and that's exactly what Bush did shortly following 9/11.
That's true.
Right now, there's threats out there, but lots of those threats, if anything, is on British soil right now, and they haven't really have a beachhead or a foothold on the American soil yet. But if and when that day comes, people are going to be freaking scared, and at the same time, the onslaught of news media fake news is probably going to diminish as more of these terrorist events occurs on American soil, and at the tragic cost of innocent American lives. So,
well, Donovan,
the good leader is a part of it.
Donovan has said, I guess there's been another car that was been used to ram into a crowd in London. All right, you know what? And this time Muslims are claiming to be the victims this time. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I don't know enough about it. You know what? I have no sympathy for him anymore. You had an election. You chose what you did. And elections do have consequences. That is true. Unfortunately, like the French and the Brits and the UK, they're going to get stuck with this decision for some time. Unless something really, really just forces a collapse of the government, which is very possible. But, unfortunately, people are going to have to suffer for that. Now, Chuck, let us put this in perspective. You just I just let you take over the 11th APG. As a leader, what's your leadership style going to be like? What do you envision your leadership style? What do you envision your goals? How do you intend to lead?
Basically, and judging from observing you for a number of years,
don't do
and
that.
talking to other
I'm a
other
poor example.
leaders.
Don't do that.
Hold on a minute, though.
All right, buddy. Go ahead.
It's not just you. Also, the examples of other prepper groups who we have met as well, and hearing stories of what happened to them. Mm-hmm. For me, the only way that I know is probably to lead by example. Do not ask something of someone else that you would not do yourself. And even then, that works to a point, because simply because you did it does not mean that everyone thinks that they should also do it. So, I think you might have to diversify on a couple of tools, if you will, in order to let's say influence behavior or opinion. But one of the best ways is basically to actually be an example by demonstrating it yourself. It's one of other tools that are out there that you can use at your disposal. You just have to know when to use it and when is a good time to use it, depending on the situation.
Okay.
That's what I think right now. But like I said, I still have yet to put it to use. As soon as I do, I'll probably make notes and I'll present it to you on the show at a later date.
That's one thing I've noticed. Good leaders have no problem helping out the new leader. If you have somebody that maybe wasn't the great leader, but maybe he was a great organizer. Maybe he knew how to organize things. But he was kind of short on motivational and inspiring speeches, a man of few words, but was able to organize. A good leader is not afraid to help the new leader out. After all.
True.
After all, it's a self-preservation move to help cooperate each other, especially in the group setting, especially if you're trying to get operational, because we're going to be talking about this more and more. And we're going to
not only that,
we're going to be calling on Chuck. Chuck,
when you're trying to
go ahead, buddy. Fire
when
away.
you're trying to build up your group, and all that stuff, you're pretty much mentoring others to take your place from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So and if something happens that for whatever reason that person is unable to lead anymore, it could be personal. Who knows?
Right.
Maybe a tragic death in the family, or there's a number of reasons. Then basically a person who he has been grooming since he's been leader can often take over because they know what to do because they've been working with him on it, or her. So basically, when you lead, everything that you do, everything that you say, all the examples and demonstrations that you put forth, that you demonstrate yourself, that pretty much is not only leading, but you're also mentoring other people at the same time. They two go pretty much hand in hand.
We're going to keep an eye on you. We're going to use you as a test subject so that others can see and learn from what you and I do as we continue to move on and transform our command from one to another. Because it's very important to understand this thing. You got to understand it. You got to learn to live with it.
Well, thanks for the heads up. In that case, I'll wear my fake glasses, nose, and mustache.
Oh, yeah, that will inspire confidence, I'm sure. It will inspire confidence, you can rest assured. Yes, yes, yes. Another thing, we talked about people who are cancer to your group. You got to cut them out. Now, what do you do with a leader? Now, here's a question that for all you people in the prepper groups have to ask each other. What do you do with the leader who was ousted because maybe he just was incompetent, doing it for the wrong reasons? Do you boot him from the group, or do you let him stay? If you let him stay, you run the risk of him poisoning the rest of the group against the new leadership. Or, if you let him stay, you take away a valuable resource that the new leader might be able to fall back on and ask for advice or whatever the case may be, whatever knowledge. So what do you do with that one person? And again, it probably comes down to the issue of, well, why was he ousted from leadership? That might be what it comes down to.
I can answer that. I can answer that.
Go ahead, fire away.
And to be honest, there's not a single surefire answer that will work in all situations.
True.
If that person is toxic and then he's openly defying you in front of the entire group, then that person is toxic and he's going to have to be let go. At the same time, if that person that is toxic and you're planning on letting go has a little bit of following himself, when you let him go, then that means that a couple of your other people who you kind of like might end up going with him. It's not out of the ordinary for groups to fall apart or basically just splinter, or like a schism, if you will, and for other groups, by virtue of a leader of one group not liking another person's style, but for some reason that other person garnered the support and trust of other people that was in your group, and as a result, when you let him go, well, he took X number of people out of your group as well when he left. And there's really not much you can do about it. On the other hand, if he's not openly defiant, if he works with you, and the disagreements only come behind closed doors, then that's something that you might be able to work with. But if it's something where he's grandstanding and he's trying to be in your face all the time in front of all these people,
that's the wrong reason.
Is a toxic situation.
All right. Hey, Donovan in Florida posted this. He says, it seems like that's the setup down here. He says, the family that owns the homestead are always in leadership/control. He says, but in their absences, I would be the runner-up, and there would be many show up in need. My response was, do you like this setup? And Brandon piped in. He says, it depends on how messy it gets when he's asked to step down. Donovan says, and that is because he put in the training and pitching in when needed at the property. And he says, yes, he likes it that way. That's fine. You will have people who will assert property control rights, the right of the crown, as Porky Wheel would say. It's my homestead, it's my sandbox, it's my rules.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right, and that's what you got to figure out.
What if there is no homestead? So the whole home rule
Well,
thing
again,
goes right out the window. 'Cause
I agree.
You're all just a collection of people with So, but here's one other point that's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it wasn't mentioned. This guy, you don't agree with his tactics, you don't agree with his methodology, but he gets the job done. Then the question of kicking that person out becomes a little bit more tricky because you don't know if keeping him or letting him go will do more damage to your group and the overall morale of your group from a long-term perspective.
well, that's true.
That's the thing. Sometimes you have to think short-term for the next day, or long-term for the next year. In which case, that changes the dynamics a lot. So
There's a lot that goes into leadership. There's also a lot that goes into following that particular leadership, just the way it is. How you respond as whether you are a group member to leadership, or how does leadership respond when the group says, this is just a really bad idea. That's what's going to make the difference in leadership. Don't forget, being in leadership means more than just being, shouting out orders like Chuck said, or, telling people what they got to do and what they don't got to do. Most people, let's say people in my age group who've been around a while, that means 50 plus years, would sit there and say, wait a minute, no. And they're going to have a more experience in life that's going to play into your decision making, as opposed to, say, the 23-year-old who's gung-ho, ready to leave the extraction team wherever you say, wherever you go. You have to be, as a leader, you got to be expected to be questioned sometimes. And it's okay to question. Like I said, there's no legal obligation for anybody in a group to follow the leadership. What are you going to do? You can't use the UCMJ.
The whole dynamic of the group is these are all basically volunteers. They volunteer to be present. They volunteer to participate. They arrived as volunteers, and for the most part, they're able to voluntarily leave. So, and many do, and it's not uncommon rather for not only leadership to change hands from time to time of a group, but the membership to also go through as well. It's a little different from any company that you work for as an employee.
Well, that's true.
But in companies, they call it employee turnover for whatever reason, and they try to see if they can replenish those resources. But you don't have that. You don't have that option as a prepper group because you already have to be very, very highly selective in terms of trust, in terms of competency, to have those people, and to consider a person to be a membership in your group. And even then, a lot of it's based on skill set as well. So, yeah, there's no single formula that will work in all kinds of situations. It's basically a give and take, dealt with, mostly depending on what you have to work with. So, there's that too.
All right. There is a prepper group. There was a prepper group out west. Some of you heard about this. Some of you haven't. It turned out, and this is a true story, it turned out that there was this prepper group had a leader, and he had his core people around him supporting every decision he made. It got out that they were using the group to enrich themselves. Not just financially, but through supplies. They were skimming off the top and adding it to their personal supplies. So, welcome John Theo. He's here. He's in the Facebook chat room. That's good. That's good. As I was getting back. So what happened was, when the word got out, you know what happened. You know what was said. That group fell apart, and rightfully so. Now, that leader And this core group of people, oh, they're still around. They got a group. The rest of the people left. In my world,
But not, but, and if you're talking about the group that I'm thinking that you're talking about,
no. It's not that group that you're. No. When I say out west,
Okay.
out west, I mean the West Coast.
okay, got it. All right, standing down.
John Theo is here. Glad to have him. I think he just got done with his move to a different, more stable state. And Donovan T. in Florida is reporting that jihadists have taken a resort in Mali. They have taken it over. Look around you. Look at what's going on in the world. If you are a good leader, you have taken note of these things. You know, being a part of a leader means you have to know when to consolidate your group, order a consolidation, and start operations. That's true. You're going to have to know when to do that. And you're not going to know when to do that unless you're constantly, you know, this is a tough part for leadership. You're going to be watching a lot of television, watching the internet, looking for any sign that bad juju is about to come raining down on you or near you. And as a member of that group, you're going to have to know, hey, I just got the call. We got to go. That does not mean we do a lot of practice alerts. We don't do that. We don't pretend. This is serious stuff. When you order a consolidation of your group, you put the alert signal out, you got to go with it. Now, doesn't mean you can't sit there and train. You need to train over and over again. Training helps. Having a good plan of action to consolidate. And by consolidate, I mean you're calling group members together to start operations. You have something to say, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah. Really, as for any prepper group, when is there not a threat out there?
I'm not talking. I'm not talking
Ruby-
about the thing like
Oh,
this in
what-
Mali. I'm talking about something that's a serious threat to your region.
Okay. Well, hold on a minute, and I want to clarify that threat.
You clarify.
Remember the whole Ruby Ridge and the whole Ruby Ridge and Waco incident back during the 80s, or I'm sorry, it was at early 90s actually.
Waco's in the 90s. Ruby Ridge was in the 80s.
Okay, yeah, but as a result of that social fallout by the news media, all the prepper groups were labeled as militias, and a lot of the larger ones had to disband in several states and they sort of went underground in order to escape from that scrutiny and that social backlash. It doesn't take much, especially if we're talking about the social fabric of America, for public opinion to turn against a particular group. It really doesn't. And that's why news medias are the masters of spin control, because they can basically spin stuff by design in order to create a social backlash or negative opinion about a respective specific group. And for the past several months, but then again, I'm going to put in Obama's entire 2-year term as well. That target has been the GOP and Republicans and conservatives. And even that, although Obama is no longer in office, that effort still continues through the news media. And it's going to continue until a larger threat surfaces that takes precedence over what Trump is tweeting. And that basically is a big massacre someplace on American soil caused by a bad guy.
Is that, all right, let me stop you. Is a massacre
Yeah.
an active shooting in your area? Is that reason enough to call for a consolidation alert?
Well, it depends on the nature of that massacre. In England, it wasn't a shooting. It was an explosion at a concert. It depends on the tragic event that occurs and what its nature was, and more importantly, who is believed to have caused it or is claiming credit over it. It didn't take long for ISIS to basically claim credit for the Ariana Grande incident. Let's put it this way, and right now, a perfect example. Trump is having trouble trying to pass his not only his original, but also his reauthored immigration plan. Thanks in due in part to the Fourth Circuit Court and the Ninth Circuit Court, and some freaking idiot in Hawaii. So, and as a result, they even they issued a stay against Trump's immigration plan, even after, in complete impunity and disregard to what happened in England at the Ariana Grande concert. And they're going to continue to do so until a similar event of that magnitude happens on American soil. And they will definitely change their tune if that event, and when it does happen, it happens within their jurisdiction. In this case, I'm talking about the Ninth Circuit Court. The American people, lawmakers, and judges, they're not proactive. They're not precautionary. They're reactive by nature. Right now, the reason behind them pushing back against Trump's migration plan is because they're reacting to what they perceive to be a hatred of all Muslims by Trump. A day will come when something, and I'm not talking about if, I'm only talking when something really big and heinous happens on American soil and it's caused by ISIS or some other terrorist group. And then the judges within the Ninth Circuit Court are going to have to basically reconsider that decision on the that they made on Trump's immigration.
They won't
plan.
do that. They will find some other way
No.
to blame it on something else other than themselves. That's the way liberals work. It's never their fault.
They always
always
do. The
someone
whole
else's
concept of accountability is lost on these people.
Absolutely agree. As I'm fond of saying, liberals always have problems and concerns, but they rarely have any solutions.
And I didn't even say liberals, but it didn't take too long to go there.
Well, let's be honest.
Here's something. Right now, the single biggest threat right now that we have to the safety and security of Americans is not Trump. It's Antifa. Because even though they're not an armed group yet, or maybe they are, they're just not being reported by the news media. But we already know that they are armed in such a way with blunt force melee weapons. That's what they did in Berkeley. That's what they did in several other areas. They basically resorted to melee weapons to do harm to the opposite group. And they were allowed to do so by the mayor of a particular city. They had no choice but to basically stand on and let them have their way because they're afraid of getting public backlash against them. That's the type of influential political influence this Antifa group has. Never mind the fact that the Antifa, meant to be anti-fascist, uses fascist techniques and methodologies to get their message.
Very good, sir.
The biggest, the biggest hypocrites. And I was reading to the and I'm waiting for the day when they get their hands on guns, because then they're going to show their true colors. Because it's coming. It's comment. I've already. All they have right now is just a freaking sales brochure.
It's bound to happen.
That says that they're anti-fascist. And everyone, including news media, is ignoring that their fascist methodology that they use when they're out in the field.
They're not ignoring it. They're just not saying it. There's a difference.
No, they're not. They are ignoring it. They're underreporting it. They choose to stay away from it. Anything that will cast a questionable light on Antifa, because Antifa is basically the let's say the rank and file foot soldiers, if you will, of the Democratic Party and organizers
It's
within
part
the
of their
Democrats.
base. It's part of their
And
base.
that's why they're able to get their way from Democratic mayors who they asked to protest in their city at a particular in a particular state. They do have significant political power.
Every time you make a good point, I'm hitting that button.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So right now there are semi-militia unit by virtue of being armed. They're just not armed by guns yet, at least that we know of. Okay. They have a cause that they're rallying behind. And that cause is basically anti-Trump, anti-conservative, anti-God, probably anti-military as well. You name it, that's pretty much what they represent. And it's all being driven by the DNC on some level, and probably funded to a certain extent by Soros. Now, when they do get armed, and when more innocent people die, it could be an innocent person, it could be a member of the opposition. But if they die because they're trying to do harm for a cause, they're no longer a protesting group. They're no longer a militia. They are, in effect, by definition, a terrorist group. Antifa will become an armed terrorist group if there are deaths, violence, and destruction, and fatalities and injuries because they're trying to protest for a cause. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very well. Getting back to leadership, and you have got to stay on topic. I know. Look, Chuckles,
sorry.
I love you, baby, but you know what? You need to be on Contra Dawn's show because that's what I mean. She would love to have you rocking and rolling with her. I know JD did a while ago, and that was a really good episode. I need you to stay on focus. Today is leadership on prepper groups and patriot groups. What do you have to say on that, sir? I can wait.
Leadership.
Yes, sir. That's all right, buddy. I probably already
Well,
said
as I said before, there is not a single formula out there that will apply to every situation. And you have to be flexible given what the situation is. And you have to be able to respond to it in a particular way, or perhaps hopefully in the most effective way. Again, given on the situation. So is there a book on this? I'm sure the military has some books out there.
I'm thinking that
There's lots of apocalypse books out there. But
well, that's true.
excuse me, honestly,
No, that's true. I'm just thinking that a leader has to have and be able to share and explain his core values to the group. So the group understands where this man is coming from or woman is coming from. They have to be able to understand what their vision is and how they intend to administer the group.
well, you can explain it to them until they blue in the face. You can even document it. You can even use great cartoon pictures in order to try to see if you can explain it. It doesn't always work. You have to demonstrate it through your own actions. And that pretty much speaks the loudest, and it's the most effective leadership tool out there, is demonstrating it,
Well,
being an example.
okay. Does that mean that Chuck goes on missions with his extraction team? Or does
If it
Chuck
calls for it, yeah.
or does Chuck stand by in the CP monitoring the situation?
Oh, okay. So in other words, you're asking me if I'm going to be Captain Kirk or Captain Picard.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, listen, here, my little Trekkie buddy. I did not bring that up. But
Uh-huh.
as long as you did,
Yeah, but it's
I'm
okay.
questioning.
Yeah,
I mean, granted. No. That's another show. Another entire
I think
different show.
every leader should show some balance. Not only do you do need to demonstrate where everyone in your group can bear witness to what you do when you're out in the field,
Yeah.
but by doing so, you also earn their credibility and their respect, which will carry over to when you're in the command post. So, like I said, there's not a single answer. A lot of it depends on the situation, and a lot of it depends on the number of resources that you have available to you at a particular time. If you're short on resources, it's not going to be out of the ordinary for a person to step out of the command post and actually having to take a lead in the field. So I would say both are appropriate, in my honest opinion. But, again, you're not going to have much respect amongst your men until you're out there dug in with your men, out on the field,
Okay.
going through the same hardships and experiencing the same things that they're experiencing.
All right. Stickles Tess has also joined the Facebook live feed. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right.
But to everyone out there, Star Trek Captain Kirk made it look like he got more booty call when he was out in the field with his men, but that doesn't happen in real life. I just want you to know that. Okay, thanks.
You're a very sad man. Very sad.
Yeah, but I'd keep it.
And I might add, in dire need of counseling. All right.
Name one show where Captain Kirk.
We're not talking about Captain Kirk. I don't care about
I'm
Captain.
sorry about
He's not
Let's
even a
move on.
real
Let's move on.
person.
Okay.
You are,
Back to the original discussion. My bad.
Oh, it is your bad. Let's see what we got there. I'm reading about what Donovan's has written or posted. When does the law allow you for use of the Second Amendment? Laws are not constitutional matter. Now, to tell the truth, Donovan, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're going with it, so I don't have a comment right now. If you want to see what Donovan's talking about, please go to the CRN like page, join the video. The live video is taking place now. You'll be able to see it. I'm not sure how to answer the question because I'm not sure. I'm just not following his drift right now. That'll be fine. All right. 11th APG members know that Chuck has put together a website, correct? Is it operational?
Right now, I have. Well, here's the thing. The 11th APG members, we're still trying to finalize that roster. So I have the website ready, but it's not running right now. What I do have is a CRN Preppers Resource website that's currently running.
Okay.
Right now, I'm looking for volunteers to help me run the forums and to add some more data and information to it. And well,
Email. Give me your email. The people
Yeah.
need to know. How are they going to get a hold of you if you don't tell them how to get a hold of you? Give me your
Okay.
email. I'll tell you what. Get one that's a lot simpler than the one you have now. Make it easy. And, well, you don't have to do it now unless you want to. We can wait till next
Well, does
show.
that mean I got to change my email account to Bob?
I don't care what you change
Okay.
it to. The one you have now is a pain in the butt for anybody to remember. Because they're also trying to figure out, well, how the hell do I spell it again? Make it easy. Make it simple.
Oh, if you want, well, hold on. If you want to contact me, just leave a message in the forum. But you're going to have to subscribe to the forum to leave a message.
Oh, good God. You made a forum? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, how? There's a whole bunch of information out there. I need to sort it out by category. That's what the forum is for. It's broken down by category.
You're killing me.
Oh, okay. And for everyone, it's the address is preppers, PREPPERS, dot through here, THRU, through here, .net. You're going to see a welcoming page, but then on the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see blog and forums. Don't subscribe to the blog, but do subscribe to the forum and help me get some information in there. So that will be helpful for our fellow preppers and listeners to aid them in their endeavors to prep. Please.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Did you post to the CRN group page? Did you post that in the CRN group page?
Tell you what, I'll do it right now.
Yeah, way to be proactive, sir. No, I'm teasing you. Hey, all right, never mind. I already answered that question. No, I answered that question. Never mind. I was going to say something, and I thought better of it. And if you're watching on the live video feed, you saw me getting ready to. You saw the wheels spinning, and I was about to blurt it out, and I thought, no, pull it back. No, not yet. Okay. Well, it's true. It's true. Yes. There's Chuck. No, that's not me. That's Chuck.
What's that?
Typing. Go ahead, sir. You're
That's
fine.
me. Sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry
Fire
about
away.
that.
It's okay, buddy. It's all right. All right. There was lots of aspects to the leadership, especially, on when you're dealing with leadership, it's more than just telling people what they need to do or how they need to do it. Most people in a prepper group, as Chuck said, have been pre-selected. Most are going to know what needs to be done. They might need a reminder. Most, if they don't know, they're more than willing to learn. If you're going to be the leader who is intending, who thinks that good leadership is berating people and not building them up, you're wrong. You do not need to be in leadership. That is not leadership. What that is just being a bully. And you will find your group will not only disintegrate, they will desert you faster than you've ever known before. And they will tell others about you, how you run a group. And there will be no repair. There will be no second chances. When you are done, you are through. Because you'll have no credibility and no integrity. No one will trust you. So if you choose to be the leader, if you choose to go into this situation, it would behoove one to have, a very good sense of morality and ethics and humility. Like I said, when you take on the role of commander or you take on the role of group leadership, you're taking the lives of the group members into your personal responsibility. They are not to be used as cannon fodder as you see fit. It's not the military. You might want to run it along the military apparatus, but it is not the military. And even the military doesn't even like to use soldiers as fodder. Granted, it's inherent in the job when you sign up to do it. When you join a prepper group, it's not inherent that you're going to put their lives at risk. That's a given, considering why you'd have a group to begin with. Their lives are already at risk. They don't need a leader that's planning to sit there and use them as cannon fodder or throw them away or cast them off. It is a grave responsibility. So I ask you, if you're a prepper group leader and you're listening to this, are you worthy of it? Well, are you? Are you worthy to be a group commander? A group leader? Whether it's Patriots group or a prepper group, are you worthy? I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Leaders screw up. Everybody screws up. It's a fact of life. And when you screw up, no one else is going to take credit for it. It's true. What do you think? Am I wrong? Am I putting the ideal, the standard so high that I'm just plain wrong? Look, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I know it. And I'll take the responsibility for it. When I talk to you about this, when you listen to the show, for the last 328 episodes, I've taken the responsibility on myself to try and get you the best information I can, to get you the best tips that I can. So, is your leadership have your group's best interest at heart? If not, get a new leader. And if he's not willing to change, he's not willing to listen, then get a new group. Go form your own group. I guarantee you that if you had a bad leader and one person leaves, or one family leaves, guess what happens? Others will follow. Sometimes they're just waiting. And sometimes you do what I did. And Chuck will testify to this. We had a prepper group before the 11th APG. And if I remember the name right, it was the Ingleside Echo. Gil, you know what we did? I got tired of people paying lip service. Hey, look, we got a training coming up. We need to be here. Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there. Can't wait. Come that day. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to clean my house. Oh, I had to go to the bar and meet some friends. I haven't seen them in a while. Donovan says, I'm done. Leadership when working at the prison was either really great or really bad. And that's true, sir. That's true in everything. He says, but training always made the difference. Training does make a difference. That was Donovan. He's in the Facebook chat room. I would also suggest this. Getting back to the story for Ingleside Echo. And like I said, Chuck will testify to it. I booted everyone. I disbanded that group. Screw you. Don't come up to me, and they did afterwards. Well, I haven't heard what's going on. Screw you. You couldn't be bothered to come to training. You couldn't be bothered to show up. And you want me to tell you what's going on now? You can just kiss my ass. Because I'm not telling you. And I only put the people that actually attended training, people that actually did something back into the 11th APG. And to this day, I have not allowed those people back in. I don't care how much preps they got, they have. They think they're, I don't care. You cannot be trusted. If you can't be trusted to show up for some training, easy stuff. How in the hell can you trust them to show up when the grid goes down? Someone, answer me, can you? I can't. I didn't. I got rid of them.
You can't.
And I didn't.
You can't. I'll give you. How many people out there? And let's go outside of the prepper box here. How many people out there are in neighborhood associations, and every time you have your meeting once per quarter, only the officers or the members of the board show up, but no one from the community shows up. Maybe one or two might if they have a complaint, but no one's participating in the ongoing governing of the community itself that they're supposed to be a part of. So it's not just in prepper groups. It's happening in a lot of areas, in every facet of life, where and the prevailing priority is me, or kids, which pretty much is on the same level as me. Right? But the whole idea of participating in a community or being a part of the community in which you live in is just something that's absolutely unheard of. It's a foreign concept in today's generation. Where in yesteryear, and several generations going back, it was a common expectation. Not so anymore. So I would say that from scratch, unless you guys have some really good friends starting off. If you're a single person, you're probably going to, if you meet like a couple people, and they might turn out to be demonstrated deadbeats, and you know, you don't want them in your group, and then, you know, you're still a group of one, so then what do? You can't be too desperate to gain numbers. And to do that, you're willing to negotiate compromises to your standards. Because if you do that, then the entire purpose of you having a group in the first place becomes diminished. You want to have competent people. You want to have people that you trust. You want to have people that you can rely on. The only way you can gauge that is whether or not they participate or they even show up. If they don't, then they're not an asset. They're a liability. And unfortunately, and I haven't mentioned this to John yet, but I think we're reaching a point where, you know, unless people demonstrate to the contrary, there's a lot of liabilities out there.
Okay. Well said, well stated. All right, folks. It's Father's Day. Let me let you guys get back to your Father's Day activities. I'm going to do that. Mr. Commander Chuck, final words, sir.
Prep today, live tomorrow. If you want to learn how, visit my page. We'll try to help.
There you go. There you have it. There it is. There you go. If you are a prepper group member, or you're looking for a prepper group, get a hold of me. I will put an all call out right here on this show for your area, your region. Get a hold of me at ContraRadio@live.com, ContraRadio@live.com. I will put the all call out. We'll try and get you hooked up. No guarantees that anybody's going to answer it, but at least you put it out there. And if no one answers it, then you can start your own group. And, of course, you'll have Chuck and I to fall back on to give you advice on how to do that. Of course, we can't do it all for you. You're going to have to, be the willing leader to go out there and put it together, put it on the line, let people know. Let me think. Anything else? Oh, for those of you that donated to the show recently, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled by your monetary donations to help us carry on the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know who you are. So, for those that are looking about the COI, I just got back from Mississippi yesterday. So yesterday my brain was all scrambled. So I didn't do anything yesterday. I just sat and vegged out trying to put my head back together. Now that we're back here, I realize, yes, Illinois truly does suck. And I got to get out of here. Nobody's going to help me do it but myself. So, anyway. We will do the show continuously. Even if I always I did Mississippi, by the way, thank you. Ellisville Best Western for hosting my 2 shows last week. Thank you. I appreciate it. To Lisa, Anita, Sherry, and Jasmine, and Manager Ricky, thank you so much for your graciousness, your hospitality. Fantastic. That's all I can tell you. If you're going to be in the Hattiesburg area, I would suggest you stay at the Best Western in Ellisville, Mississippi. Phenomenal place. It's a quiet place. And the reason it's quiet is because, guess what? There's no nightlife. So you don't have the drunks stumbling in, raising hell. It's a great place to relax and unwind, I think. But that's me. Thank you for listening to the Contra Radio Network. We got, Julie's doing her show from the road as she treks across these United States. Dawn is going to move her show to the 9 p.m. slot. Makes it a lot easier for her. That's fine. I can change the graphic. It's not a big deal. But she'll be doing her show at 9 p.m. Central. That's 7 p.m. on the West Coast on Friday nights. I will do this show again on Wednesday. We'll do the Roundtable Report, and I'll find some more information as we continue to help you prepper group leaders learn and maybe get some ideas out to help make your group operational. After all, what's the point of having a group if you can't be operational? I don't know. What can I tell you? But we need to do that. Okay. That's right. Joe in Texas says sometimes a leader has to go out and lead with the men. And that's exactly correct. And that's what Chuck was talking about earlier. Donovan says, good night. Oh, and he wants to know how the comms plan is coming. Now that I'm back from Mississippi, what a clean state that place. Compared to Illinois, Mississippi is extremely clean. Illinois is a freaking pigsty, especially up around the metropolitan area where, unfortunately, I live. Can't stand this place. Anyways, that's another show. I will still be working on the COI. I got to put in some more codes and authentication. I have to expand the authentication table a few more months. That'll take a few hours to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer that information to a flash drive. And then when you decide you want it, I will mail you the flash drive. Mail you, yes, snail mail. Joe wants to know, Wednesday night would be a good firearms and weapons night. You know what? You might be right. But there are a lot of shows out there, prepper shows, that talk about weapons and firearms and etc. I get that. I'm not sure that this show could add to that. I don't know. Perhaps Brandon would be so kind as to come in and talk and, handle that show. Or JD, I don't have a problem with, if you want to do a show, one-time show, say, hey, look, hey, John, I want to do a show on firearms tonight. Great. I'll help you set it up. I'll get you going. Have at it. I have no problem with that. Let's see. Joe says, let's see who can establish the best budget prepped weapon battery. Perhaps. Word to Justin, I did get your package. I haven't got it opened yet, but I'll be done within the next coming days. So I'm trying to get refocused and get everything going back here at home. As you can tell, tonight's late start was due because, for whatever reason, technical difficulties, and I had to redo everything. Reset up the show and everything. Donovan says, Joe, it's mine. And Joe says, we could talk about budget prepper weapons battery. Okay. There you have it. Perhaps we'll do that Wednesday night. I don't have a problem. You know what? If you want to do that Wednesday night, we'll do that, provided nothing really major happens. But I'll tell you right now, if you want to do that kind of a show on Wednesday night, we'll do it. But the caveat is Donovan and Joe and Brandon have got to call in. They're going to have to talk about this stuff because I can't do it all by myself. First of all, I don't know everything. I don't. I'm just a mouthpiece here. Believe me, I'm just a mouthpiece. If I knew everything, well, I wouldn't know what to do with it all. Anyway. So, we'll let you three, Wednesday night, here, Contra Radio Network, 8 p.m. Central Time. Well, you want to do the weapons and firearms show? Fine, we'll do it. And I expect Donovan and Joe and Brandon to be calling in because you guys get to carry the show. I will moderate.
What's the weapon show about?
I don't know. Firearms.
Okay.
Firearms and weapons. Brandon says he can call in. He's a good guy. You'll like Brandon. And we'll do it Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. That's 6 p.m. on the left coast and 9 p.m. on the right coast. We'll do it right here. You want to do that? We'll do it. That's cool. I can do with that. Until that time, I want to say goodnight. Thanks for checking in, guys. I do appreciate it. It's been an interesting show, interesting talk, I think. Chuck, my friend, thank you for calling in and help carry the show. I always appreciate your help. And we're going to be watching. We want to see. I want to see how you progress. We want to see how you progress as a leader. I've got no problem with you doing it. I know you can do it, and you're going to have your own style, and that's fine. Every leader should have their own style. Don't try to be a Patton. Don't try to be, You are who you are. You play to your strengths. All right? So it'll be Wednesday night here. Contra Radio Network, Roundtable Report. Hope to see you then. Again, thank you all for the donations. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled by that. I really am. So I want to say good night, and thank you again. I'm John Jeffers here at the Contra Radio Network saying good night, and thanks for joining me. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.